Good afternoon. It's just plug in your computer. Okay, all right. So good afternoon. Welcome to Miss D's. We are, hold on, because I can always fix it. Okay. This afternoon, we're talking to Jean and Andris, and these two young ladies were kind enough to go to North Carolina to represent the shop in taking up 61 quilts,
61 quilts,
blankets,
blanket,
clothes.
there was toys for kids,
Yeah,
mats,
nice, essentials.
mittens, kerosene heater,
Took a kerosene heater. There you go.
100 hand warmers, and 100 of the space blankets that the police and firemen use at accident sites.
So what, as y'all were driving up there, what did you see? I mean, was it as bad as what we're seeing on television?
Some areas didn't look like they'd been touched, and other areas there was just pure devastation. Trees down, logs, mud. You can tell where the rivers have been out of banks. What did you see? Worse than on television, worse than was reported. All along the roads, there were, it looked like somebody took a chainsaw and went along the side of the whole highway and just pushed it off to open the roads. Some of the roads are still closed, as our GPS found out.
So y'all did a whirlwind trip. You went up Wednesday morning. You left St. Augustine about 11.
We left Monday morning about 12:30 from her house in St. Augustine.
We got back
And we got back Wednesday night to her house about 7:30.
exhausted.
Well, it was exhausting, but it was rewarding to be able to actually talk to the people, to know more firsthand what happened, and to know that we were able to touch somebody's life to make things a little brighter.
So the first place that y'all went to was in North Carolina.
Let's move to Bakersville, North Carolina first.
Bakersville.
Bakersville.
Bakersville. Okay. Bakersville, North Carolina.
Yes, it's probably about 45 miles from the Tennessee line. Very tip-top.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. 28 degrees and snow.
And so what'd you find when you got there?
We found that the lady that we were supposed to talk with, her mother-in-law, had an emergency, so we went to see Fleet and Janice Hensley that are part of the disaster group for the church in that area. So we left a great portion of what we took with us with them to be distributed.
So what did it look like in that area?
A lot of trees down, a lot of rivers that used to be small that are now very big, rocks in places where they weren't before. But there's no pictures that can describe what we saw. Uprooted trees, giant trees down, houses smashed, vehicles covered up with trees, twisted guardrails.
Wow.
Debris on the side of the road, and driving along the road, Jean actually was driving over some of the power lines or phone lines that are still down. Janice Hensley actually said that their phone lines will never probably be replaced, and they were grateful that Starlink is giving them cell phone coverage, because otherwise there would be no communication in Bakersville. And also, as we drove over the mountain in cold weather, 5 inches of snow.
5 inches of snow. Oh my gosh.
Into Erwin, Tennessee, the communication is so lax that in speaking to one of the ladies in Erwin, Tennessee, the next town over didn't even know that they had been washed out and flooded.
Oh my gosh.
She said she and her daughter had gone into Johnson City, which is just north of Erwin.
Right.
And they were talking about the floods, and a person there said, "What are you talking about?"
They had no idea. And this was 2 or 3 days later. And they still didn't know that Irwin was just about washed away.
So I've been to Irwin, Tennessee. It's one of my favorite places to go. I'm afraid it probably won't look the same if I ever get to go there again.
Probably not in your lifetime or many lifetimes.
There was that much devastation.
That much. I mean, I've been going there for over 40 years. There was places that it was like, okay, I should know where I am, but it doesn't look right.
My goodness.
Unrecognizable.
And then who did you meet with there to drop off?
Wanda?
Yes, her name was Wanda, and Wanda is the manager of the Tractor Supply. And she advised us that the church had rented an area 2 doors down because we could not get a hold of the gentleman who we found out was head of disaster relief.
And also the coroner.
And
So
also
the gentleman y'all were supposed to get in contact with for disaster relief was the local coroner, and he was busy. Oh dear.
He was busy. They gave us 2 or 3 other numbers that we tried to call, and we couldn't find anyone, so we stopped at Tractor Supply because it's right there in the middle of Irwin, and talked to the manager and said, do you know who needs supplies and where we can take them? So she gave us a lowdown on all the devastation that had happened in Irwin. There was over 2,000 people that they know of that were dead. They are still finding bodies, and they're finding body parts as of last week.
that can't be reported because it's not whole anymore. She also indicated that she knew of a homeless encampment, and they have no idea what happened to them. People are still missing loved ones that they cannot find. And the blessing in that brokenness is she sent Jean down to take a look at the church to see if it was open, the space was open, where we could leave our supplies. And Jean came back and said, no, but there's supplies outside. She said, don't leave them. She said, what is happening is if you leave it outside, they will go through it and they will take out anything that's good and try and sell it on eBay
Oh my
or
goodness.
Marketplace.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Even
And
clothing.
anything. Now here's the other blessing in the brokenness. She lost her mother a year ago in November, and she was having trouble going into the house to clear it out. And when all this devastation happened, people in need, she was able to go into her mother's house. She said if somebody needed dishes, she would go into her mother's house, and it helped her to realize that her mother's death had a purpose.
There were places where there were campgrounds, and the campers were just washed away. I mean, a lot of places you could see them just out in the field.
Tumbled.
Who knows what happened to the people that were in them? There's no describing what we saw. It is not what you see on TV. For some reason, they are not giving all the exact numbers or even showing the pictures of what we saw.
We see one picture over and over again. That's Chimney Rock. That's all we ever see is that one picture.
Right.
They don't ever show.
And there are still people, even though that it's been freezing cold, below freezing, snowing, there are people living in tents. They will let them live in tents. The little houses that the Amish came and built, they wouldn't let them stay in them because they were not up to code. So they can live in a tent, but they can't live in this little enclosure.
And to that statement, on a news channel on Sunday morning, one of the places where we tried to get a room to stay, they found 3 people frozen to death in a tent.
We couldn't even
In
get
Hickory.
a hotel room within 50 miles of Bakersville.
Wow. So based on everything that you're seeing, these people are long from recovery.
They
Wow.
need everything that they can possibly
The
get.
need still exists.
Yes.
The need is beyond existence. There is Every emotion that you can have in 24 hours, Jean and I shared.
It was, you were smiling because people were so excited to see what you brought. And Janice she was in tears, and she said, you brought gifts. And I said, we didn't bring enough. She said, you don't understand. You brought new clothing. We have not been getting new clothing. We've been getting dirty, worn out, stuff with holes in it. So what you brought is a blessing, because I know this person can use this and this person can use that. They're bringing in campers to try to put people in. I just got an update from her this afternoon that they had put 4 more families in a warm spot, fed and they're clothed, and they're still working on more. Their church has joined with other churches, and they're doing their best to get these people in some type of warm facility.
So the bulk of the work is being done by Samaritans first and churches,
They said
Good Samaritans.
From what we saw,
individuals, nonprofit organization, churches, and Samaritans First, she said, had been there, but they were in another area the day that we were there. And they were still, I mean, we had to stop numerous times for the dump trucks because they were loading up debris that they had just taken off the highway. I can't tell you how many power lines that had been down. They're still on the road. They've just replaced with new lines, and so many places it was just like you took a string and wrapped it around the tree with the power lines. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank you, ladies, for making that run up there. That was a lot of your time, and it took a huge emotional toll on both of you.
Yes, it did.
and there are no words to thank everybody who helped make this happen. One person donated money for our gas.
We had the love of quilters knows no bound. We had fabric donated. We had quilt tops made of everybody's time. We had one person that I know of who quilted 8 quilts for us, so because we couldn't keep up here in the shop. So everybody is giving something. A little
People went shopping
Yes.
for new items.
And
Yeah.
it was extremely, I can't express the gratitude that these people are for just, I mean, we just took one pebble.
Yes.
Just, I mean, it was full. I mean,
And thank you for space bags.
yeah. I was concerned that the space bags would open up, and I thought, here go with this. But we got everything in, and it was highly appreciated.
Well, thank y'all for going. We do appreciate it, and for coming back and sharing with us what you experienced. Thank you.
Yeah.
They need lots of help.
Yes, ma'am. Don't forget them.